Welcome to Season 4 of You're Not Alone with Townsend. On this podcast, I'll be sitting down with guests from all over the world to discuss everything under the umbrella of mental health, diagnoses, sharing stories of resilience, medical advice, and even getting some tips and tricks from licensed counselors. The goal of this podcast is to teach us how to understand others, ourselves, and help spread love and light, one episode at a time. Please make sure to like and follow this podcast, and if you'd like to see the videos of these conversations, hop on over to my YouTube channel, TownsendTmusic YouTube, where you can find the podcast and my latest music. This podcast is run solely by supporters and listeners just like you. So if you'd like to help keep this podcast and project going, please consider hopping on patreon.com/TownsendTmusic to be part of the team. You'll also find extra content and questions with each and every guest. Let's hop in. What is up, guys? Welcome to this episode of You're Not Alone with Townsend. Super excited today. I have touched on this topic way back when, but it was kind of correlated hand in hand with another diagnosis. Today, we're going to be deep diving into OCD, which I find incredibly intriguing. And it's something I feel like a lot of people really don't know much about. So we got my friend Deuce here. How are you today? Thank you for joining us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me. I'm doing swell. Very good.
Well, I love it. The fact you call me ma'am is really sad. It makes me feel so old. I know it's just manners. I know. I'm the same. I'm from the South. Everybody's ma'am and sir and all of that. Where are you from?
I'm from Houston originally.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
You're Southern too.
Yes, I am a little Southern. I don't got an accent like you do, but yes.
Oh, no. You can hear it, huh?
It's a little, where are you from? Tennessee?
I'm from Arkansas.
Arkansas. Okay.
Yeah. It's a little thick, huh?
It's a little thick. I was going to ask you, but yeah.
Yeah. I can't hear it, but I've been told a few times it's a little thick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I always like to let my guests kind of introduce themselves. So Dawson, he says he goes by Deuce, but what's your job, location, age, whatever you'd like to share with my listeners before we hop in?
So my name's Deuce. Currently jobless, but I have an interview tomorrow. So we'll hope the best for that.
Yeah, I wish you the best.
Yes, I'm from Houston. I'm 18, grew up with OCD. Kind of navigating that has been a struggle, but I love sharing the journey and helping people with their OCD, and I find a lot of joy in that. Yeah. So it's just a little about me.
Yeah, yeah. So you're only 18. You're super young.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you still live with your parents? Are you off on your own yet?
I live with my mom.
Yeah.
My mom and my little dog.
I love it. What kind of dog? I always have to ask.
Shih Tzu.
Oh, man, you got a little bitty one.
Yeah, she's over there on the bed. She just got a haircut. So.
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. I love it so much. Okay, so I want to go ahead and dive in. Like I said, I have touched on OCD, but it was the guy that I spoke with about it. He really just knew about his OCD, and it was kind of intertwined with anxiety and a few other diagnoses. So I want to hop into, could you define OCD for us? What does that stand for? What does that look like?
Now, a quick shout out to our sponsors.
If you're looking to buy or sell, I have the perfect realty company for you. Clark & Co. Realty is located in the Benton, Bryant, Arkansas area, and they understand that buying or selling a home is more than just a transaction. It's a life-changing experience. That's why their team of highly seasoned real estate professionals is dedicated to providing exceptional, personalized services for all their clients. They truly take great pride in the relationships they build, and they always work relentlessly on the client's behalf to help them achieve their perfect real estate goals. They always have the client in mind, and I can speak firsthand when I say how reliable, trustworthy, and quick they were. When I was looking to buy my first home, they were there with me every step of the way, answering every question I could think of. They showed me a great amount of knowledge and patience through the process. It's no wonder they've won so many awards for their outstanding services and their excellent relationships with clients. So if you're looking to buy or sell, there is no better option than Clark & Co. Realty.
So OCD stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. The best way I can describe it, which most people do as well, obsessive and intrusive anxiety fueled thoughts that lead to repetitive behaviors.
Yeah, yeah. What what can it look like? I know it can be a million different things, but what
It
are a
really
few?
So it can look like a lot, like you said. In my case, it was a lot of checking. So I'll get thoughts telling me that, oh, you spilled something on your shirt while you were eating earlier. And I'll check my shirt and then I'd be like, okay. And then I'd have a thought that would be like, you spilled it somewhere else, like on a different part of your shirt. So I'd check again. And that's kind of how OCD works with all themes. It's kind of starting out as that basic thought and just kind of loops and loops the more you act on it. So with some people it can be thinking. So pure OCD is like a thinking form where you have to remind yourself certain things, self reassure from certain thoughts telling you certain things. Like if you're a bad person, you remind yourself that you're not, and then that thought will come back and tell you something worse. And it can come in a lot of different forms.
Yeah. I've heard of people, with germs, OCD with germs, so they wash their hands till they literally
Hmm.
have rashes or the skin comes
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, that I struggled with that a lot in COVID. I know that
Oh,
was
I
huge
bet.
for everybody because I mean, you're just hearing these stories about people dying. I had people around me whose, parents passed from it, like, and yeah, OCD really, yeah, it was rough then.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did you start realizing you had these tendencies? Like when did you realize, okay, I'm not just checking my shirt, this is obsessive?
So I had OCD from a very young age. I'd say I really started to be aware of like these certain things I was doing from probably like 7 or 8.
Okay.
So I had little patterns I would do with my fingers, like tapping, and those, kind of turned into steps on the sidewalk. So having to do one step in between each line. So it was very small. And, I would talk to my mom about it because she would notice it as well. And she bought me a book. Didn't really help. But I'd say around seventh grade, so around like 13, I researched about OCD and I'm like, this is what I have. Never really had a name to it. And that, helped a little bit, just kind of knowing what it is causing it always brings some relief. But it never really got better. So seventh grade, I knew kind of exactly what was causing it. And yeah,
Yeah. So your mom was noticing these things.
yeah, my mom was, I mean, the tapping the fingers was a constant thing
Yeah.
almost. So it was pretty noticeable, especially being a young kid. It's a little different.
Yeah.
So
Now, do
yeah,
you have any siblings?
I have two older sisters.
Okay. So she noticed they didn't do this. Something's a little bit different,
Yeah.
but maybe
And
couldn't
being the
put a,
youngest, yeah, she got to see them grow up and was like, yeah, that's
yeah.
different.
She's like, stop tapping your fingers.
I know. Yeah.
So when she talked to you about it, was it more like, I'm not exactly like, why are we doing this? What's the thought process? Was that kind of how it came across more so?
Um, I don't think she really pinpointed it was OCD, but she definitely saw
Right.
some like obsessive, maybe what's the right word, like ADHD tendencies as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So I've also been diagnosed with that recently, but yeah, it's just some kind of hyper obsessive tendencies that I had.
Yeah. I imagine as a parent, especially since a lot of these diagnoses are really kind of getting aware, people are starting to get aware of them. I imagine as a parent being like, I don't know what this is, but it's a little bit different. And so that
Hmm.
conversation with the kid would be pretty tough, I imagine.
Yeah,
So good for
definitely.
her. Yeah, good for
Yes,
her
ma'am.
for trying to help you kind of figure that out. When did you get diagnosed with OCD and how did you get that diagnosis?
So funny enough, in eighth grade, I was hospitalized with an eating disorder. So it'll come all together. But so around sixth to eighth grade, my OCDs kind of started picking up on my self-image. And I used to get thoughts telling me if I ate a certain food, I would get fat. If I didn't suck in my stomach, I would look fat, like all kinds of things. And I was only ever diagnosed with anxiety then. And that kind of was different because I'm like, I'm having these thoughts telling me to do these things and I'm doing them and it's only getting worse. Like, and I kind of felt like it was OCD, and I wasn't officially diagnosed until my junior year of high school, where I like had to tell my psychiatrist like it is OCD. The diagnosing process was definitely a challenging one, so I had to self-diagnose till I was basically informing my own psychiatrist like that is what I have.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I could see where that would be confusing. And like I said, I spoke with a guy about this before, and he didn't realize it until he was in his 30s, 40s for the exact same reason. They said, "Oh, it's anxiety," and then, "Oh, it's an eating disorder. Oh, it's this." And he had to realize, like, put two and two together that it's more than these things. Those might be included, but the overall was OCD, and he kind of had to advocate for himself
Yes, ma'am. I
as
mean, it's
well.
hard because when you're a kid and struggling with those things, like they don't really ask you exactly what's behind it. You know what I mean? That's kind of
Right.
something that you really have to dig deep and look into your own mind and find out exactly what's causing it, you know?
Yeah. How interesting. Wow, that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah.
So, do you know any statistics regarding OCD? Like, do you know how common it is?
Last time I looked, I want to say it was, don't quote me on this. I think it was like 2% of the population
Yeah.
and the entire world has it. And honestly, I don't think that's right at
Yeah.
all. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll have videos. One video has, a couple thousand people like relating and saying they have it. So it's like definitely up there when it
Yeah.
comes to overall
Oh, absolutely. I feel like,
100%.
kind of like we said earlier, one, you kind of have to self diagnose and advocate hardcore. So, you think about all the people that just haven't told their doctor or is
Yes,
diagnosed incorrectly, like they were given a diagnosis of anxiety instead of OCD.
exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. 1000%. I think there are more than what they really label online. Have you read anything about it being more common in men or women?
That's a great question. I haven't, or I'm sure I have. I can't remember like what it was. My guess, I don't think a certain gender would be more prone to it compared to others, just because I don't think genetically, like what sex you are would have an effect on whether or not you're more prone to it.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I don't know,
Yeah.
honestly. That would be interesting to find out.
Yeah. Speaking of, do you know if it's hereditary or genetic? Does it run in?
Yes, ma'am. I do know that. I know it can be genetic and you can be genetically prone to it. I know there's probably plenty of stories of people whose parents had never had it, but for the most part, I think it is something. My dad has it.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah.
Was that something when you were growing up where you're like, this seems familiar?
So with my dad, I never saw his OCD tendencies. Like he says he was diagnosed, and even till this day, I mean, I've never seen anything, and I'm good at it. Like I can pick up on certain things, and I've just never seen anything about him that would be OCD. Not saying he doesn't have it, but I've
Yeah.
never been able to pick up on it.
Yeah. Maybe he's really good at masking it.
I know, who knows? He
Who
could be.
knows? Yeah,
Yeah,
who knows?
he
Who
could
knows?
be.
Do you feel like do you feel like one, the intrusive thoughts themselves, do you feel like they've affected relationships or your
Ooh. Yeah. I mean, with, like a romantic partner, I feel
yeah,
like having thoughts that could tell you they're doing certain things definitely doesn't help out a relationship in any way. It can kind of develop trust issues that are not really with them, but with your own mind. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like your own mind's telling you, they're doing certain things, and that can be definitely very difficult for someone trying to navigate having a relationship and having OCD.
yeah. So it doesn't even have to be with like an action per se. Like you got to touch the door 17 times in a row. It can be thoughts like that your partner's doing something
Yes, ma'am.
unfaithful and it just
Yeah.
obsesses about that.
And I mean, there is a compulsion. So, with every theme and every kind of OCD, there's always a compulsion linked.
Mm.
So, if I'm having thoughts that my partner is doing something, the compulsion is likely getting that reassurance from them. So,
Gotcha.
you'll ask them or check their Instagram, whatever it may be, that action is what's fueling those intrusive thoughts and that loop.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would imagine that would affect a lot of relationships. What about the diagnosis itself? Like, so now you have a diagnosis of OCD and ADHD. When you get to know people, is that hard to, I guess, do you hold that back? Is that scary to tell someone that you're newly in a relationship with? Do you feel like that affects you?
No, ma'am. I feel like at the stage I'm in now, after we haven't really got onto that part, but exposure therapy,
Yeah.
that's helped me tremendously. So I'm kind of in a state where if it needs to be brought up, it would probably be in a case where I'd want to bring it up to them, maybe suspecting they may have it, or if they bring it up to me, I'd be more than happy to tell them me as well and kind of talk about our experiences with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that so much. And again, we kind of talked about this earlier. I feel like, especially with your generation and social media, mental health has gotten such a better rap than it used to. I
Yes,
mean, you were just considered crazy. You were weird. Nobody wanted anything to do with you, but we're finding everyone has their thing, right?
I
Like you
know.
said, you make a post and 2,000 people are like, oh, yeah, me too. That is
Yes,
normal.
ma'am. It definitely feels a lot less lonely knowing how many people are out there, especially, you know, when I started that page, like I just knew I wasn't alone. You know what I mean? Like I know
Mhm.
other people were out there. I didn't know quite how much, to be fair. There's a lot more.
Right. Oh, man, absolutely. Okay, so as far as what it affects more, it looks like it affects women a little bit more than men. So it says, according to the National Institute of Health and .gov, says women were 1.6 times more likely to experience OCD compared to men. So
Interesting.
yeah, kind of interesting. Kind
Yeah.
of interesting. Which, like you said, I could see it going both ways, honestly.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am. Yeah.
yeah. So, okay. So we talked about how it affects you. Is there a cure? Is there medication? Is there therapy? You talked about exposure therapy. Discuss that a little bit with it. What even is that?
So when it comes down to like a overall cure, there's not. Sadly, I wish there was. And for most people, it's finding the right thing that helps you manage it. So it's with exposure therapy, it's all about minimizing compulsions. So compulsions are really the action that fuels and makes that thought harder to resist and more anxiety provoking. So identifying whether or not like what themes you have and the compulsions to go along with that and then cutting those out, and that's been absolutely a lifesaver for me, and I know it has been for so many others. It's studied to be one of the most effective behavioral therapies for OCD, and with medication and stuff like that, it's really made for the anxiety the thoughts can cause. And if you're having less anxiety with that thought, it makes it easier to avoid that compulsion. So behavioral therapy and medication kind of goes hand in hand. Some people find relief from just a medication. They're like, I can ignore my thought now, like,
Yeah.
so they kind of go hand in hand, but there's no cure,
Yeah. Yeah.
sadly.
Just kind
Yeah.
of helping you cope with it better.
Yes, ma'am.
Interesting. Okay. So you feel like your behavioral therapy, do you take a medication for the anxiety part?
No, ma'am.
So
I
you
don't.
just do therapy?
Yes, ma'am. I was on Lexapro for a good little while and nothing but good things to say about it. It was just my ADHD. I was always forgetting to take it or
Yeah.
not taking it. So I just weaned off and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So you feel like behavioral therapy does you good, like it does you justice, does well.
Yes, ma'am. And I mean, again, it's
Wonderful.
studied to be behavioral therapy, exposure therapy, CBT is another one. I'm not very educated on that, but behavioral therapies are studied to be very effective.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Do you feel like your ADHD, you said you just recently got diagnosed with that. Do you feel like helping that diagnosis also helps with your OCD?
I think so for sure. I can't quite like pinpoint how it could
Sure.
intertwine. Again, just kind of that hyper focused, ADHD part, getting that definitely helped with my sleep
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. So getting medications to help me kind of relax my mind helped me with my sleep, and sleep is huge when it comes to helping OCD. So definitely helped.
Yeah, wonderful. I love that so much. So what do you find on a day-to-day basis? What do you find helps you cope with the tough moments where like you maybe are having a compulsive moment or an obsessive moment? What do you do? What helps you the most?
Um, that's a great question. Um, I'd say just kind of not grounding, kind of grounding myself and being like, okay, like that's my OCD talking and just carrying on with my day as normal. There's gonna, I have hiccups all the time. Don't get me wrong, but kind of guiding by that rule of thumb of not listening. Sometimes you need that reminder, okay, my OCD is lying to me. Now it's time just to carry on with my day. And those thoughts will be in the back of your mind. But the less you listen, the more easier it is to just carry on and go about your day as normal.
Yeah. So learning how to label it.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely identifying it in that moment makes it easier to be like, okay, like it's there all the time. Just gonna ignore it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. That's awesome. Okay. Do you do you feel like the tendencies or even the actions behind it, do they get worse with age? Have they gotten better with age? Does it stay the same?
So for people who are struggling, it can definitely get worse with age for sure. If I feel like I was lucky enough to find exposure therapy when about a year ago, and over this past year, I've seen life-changing, honestly, improvements.
Wow.
So I feel like the earlier you kind of start to dabble in exposure therapy and just cutting out compulsions, the easier it can get. But, some people are unlucky and don't find that kind of help, it can definitely worsen and worsen with age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I'm proud of you for getting up, going to therapy, finding this therapy, sticking with it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, how wonderful.
Yeah, I actually found it funny enough. I seen probably three therapists that said they specialized in OCD. Not a single one of them knew about exposure therapy or
Wow.
any behavioral therapies in general. It was all speech therapy and meditating and things like that. And when you really think about it, if meditation doesn't really help like obsessive and compulsive tendencies, I mean, it can for some, in my
Right.
case. In most cases, it doesn't. So I was just scrolling on my phone on Apple Podcasts one day and found exposure therapy. And I listened to all, I was like, I have nothing to lose. Like, I just listened, applied it, and haven't looked back. So,
Wow. Speech therapy.
yeah,
How interesting.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. That is an interesting, not saying it's wrong, but that's an interesting take on it. I love the idea of behavioral therapy. I've had a lot of guests also do that for different diagnoses, and it seems to
Hmm.
be life
Yeah.
changing.
No, it really can be. It
I
really
love
can
it.
be.
I love it. I love it. What do you wish people knew about OCD?
What do I wish people knew about
Yeah,
OCD?
I feel like I said earlier, I feel like this is a diagnosis that people know the term, but they don't really know much about it.
Yeah. I feel like when it comes from like an outsider, someone without it, um, just how debilitating it can be, and how like if for in my case, when someone says like, oh, you like it, your room to be clean or certain things like that, it's not triggering, don't get me wrong, but I find joy in educating people about it. But in a lot of people's cases, that can be triggering and upsetting. So I guess just educating themselves on how debilitating it can be for sure. I think it's ranked in the top 10 of most debilitating illnesses and disorders, which
Yeah,
is a little fun fact. So, definitely how
it's
bad it can
definitely a
be.
fact. I
Yeah,
don't know if it's fun, but it's a fact.
yeah, right. A little fun fact,
Well,
right?
fun fact.
But for someone with OCD, I just really want them to know that it can get better for sure. There is hope, and yeah, it's out there.
I love that so much. I love that. I spoke with a guest one time about OCD, and they were actually, let me think, she was an APRN, but she was speaking about the differences between OCD obsessions, like the actions. And
Hmm.
one of them, just for people to realize how broad it can be, it's the typical, you hear about washing your hands so many times you make your hands raw, or tapping the
Hmm.
side of a door 20 times before you step through it. I think that's what
Yes,
most
ma'am.
people are aware of. She talked about how some people can hit a speed bump and their mind tells them, I ran over somebody.
No, yeah,
And they go back to that spot a million times, or they harp on it forever. And it'll be weeks later and they still believe because
yeah.
their brain tells them they ran over somebody, and the guilt that they carry with it. And so I don't think people realize, yeah, that's debilitating. I mean, that's traumatic.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, I'm not going to name any names. When I started this page or my OCD page, someone at school, one of my friends reached out to me and said she had been struggling, and one of her big like obsessions was that very thing, and
Yeah.
she wouldn't even have to run over a speed bump, just her mind would tell her that she ran over
Yes.
someone, and she said she would pop U-turns for an hour going back and forth looking at whatever her brain told her
Yeah.
that where she hit someone.
Yeah.
So,
We
yeah,
can tell her she can rest easy because apparently that's a common thing. Like I said, a
yeah,
nurse practitioner actually discussed that with me, and I found it so intriguing. And again, I feel like people don't really realize. I think people associate it with, oh, they tap the door and turn the light on 100 times. No,
yeah,
it's pretty traumatic, and it can be a broad spectrum of actions and thoughts for sure.
yeah. One of a tough one too, just to hear that people struggle with. Thank God I never struggled with this. Is harm OCD. So
Yeah.
people can be around knives or any type of thing that could inflict harm when they're around family, and their mind will tell them like you're gonna murder everyone in the house. And then when your mind tells you that, you're like get that rush of anxiety, and you either like can't even look at the knife, can't touch it, can't, you have to leave, like
Yeah.
whatever it may be, because your mind's convincing you that you're gonna harm other people around you. So it can be a very traumatic, like you said, experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can see that one for sure. I
Yeah.
love that you're spreading hope and you're spreading awareness, especially on your social media pages, because obviously a lot of people are benefiting from that. Speaking of that, where do you feel like you've found the most support regarding your diagnosis?
Definitely my mom. From my
Yeah.
mom for sure. My mom has been there for me through everything. So when I was hospitalized, I was 80 pounds in eighth grade
Wow.
and put on heart monitors just from how bad of a state my body was in from not eating,
Wow.
and couldn't walk. Um, Threatened to be tube fed, and my mom was there with me every night in that hospital
Wow.
and comforting me, telling me it's going to be okay. And if I didn't have her to even take me to that hospital, like she was there with me when we first initially went in. And I remember telling her how bad I wanted to go home, like, please,
Oh,
like, I'll eat, mom. And I'm just like thinking if she didn't, I know those obsessions wouldn't have gone away. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And with the state my body was in, and I was unaware of the fact that how bad it was. Like it was to the point where, you know, serious precautions had to be taken. And I thank God every day that she was there with me to really get me in there and get help.
Yeah. How wonderful. Yeah. You definitely have to be an advocate. And like we touched on this earlier, but what a blessing that you had her and you had yourself and maybe a little bit of your dad as well to figure out like, hey, this isn't an eating disorder. May have a little episode of that. This isn't just anxiety, although it may have episodes of that, and really get down to the actual diagnosis. Cause I feel
Yes,
like that was
ma'am.
probably life saving.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
amazing. Well, Deuce, thank you so much for joining us. It
Yes,
truly
ma'am.
means a lot that you hopped on here and shared your story.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Tell my listeners where they can find you on TikTok because I love your stories. I love how just real you are, how honest you are.
So on TikTok, my at is OCD support and help. And then that's, yeah,
OCD
OCD.
support and help. I love it. I love it. Awesome. Okay, listeners, you know how this works. So he and I are going to keep chatting. I'm going to get to know him a little bit more, but you can only listen to those questions at patreon.com/TownsendTmusic. All my guests do a few extra personal questions. So if you want to hear those, hop on that. That's also how we keep this project and this podcast going. You can also watch these videos on YouTube at TownsendTmusic YouTube. And if not, we'll catch you next time.
If you'd like to hear the rest of this interview, visit patreon.com/TownsendTmusic. And don't forget, you can also watch the interviews on our YouTube channel at TownsendTmusic YouTube.